Good morning, afternoon, and night to everyone around the world. I'm your co host today, Sus, and I have with me today Billy and as well Odin, a nominee in House of Merit running in the NDC. It's a very exciting podcast today because I really wanted to speak with Odin a long time ago. If you guys don't know much about Odin, he's definitely should be in House of Merit, in my opinion. But let Odin introduce himself and let's get into it. Odin, good morning, afternoon.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. That intro music was awesome. Got me all pumped up, ready to go.
Yeah. I love
Pretty
that
hype, huh?
music.
But wouldn't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing in this space, and what's going on recently with your nomination as a House of Merit candidate?
Sure. So I'm Odin. I've been in the near space for going on 2 years. Towards the end of this year, really been deeply interested in the ecosystem. I've been dabbling in the crypto space for 3.5, 4 years or so. Originally started kind of messing around on centralized exchanges and then getting wrecked by Ethereum gas fees until a friend of mine who is native, works in the space, put me onto Near. Um, Started using Aurora back when gas was free. I've gotten into DeFi, messing around with a lot of stuff. Really just trying to learn as much as I can about the space. Ended up getting recruited by the founding team at Bastion Protocol, just because I was checking out their what they were building. Uh, Kind of became an active member of their community. They reached out. I was a mod there for like 16 months, helping users navigate the lending protocol, understand the underlying mechanics, how the collateral tokens worked, um, helping to act as a liaison between them and the core team if they had any issues, managing support tickets, things of that nature. So I have a pretty good understanding of DeFi as a whole. Throughout my whole process, I learned a lot from the team about the way the contracts worked, and it just the more I learned, the more I just want to bury myself in it. I'm super interested in it. And then just Near as a whole, I've been here experimenting, with community building and trying to understand the motivations people have behind these NFT projects and things like that. I've purchased quite a number of NFTs in the space. I've never really sold any of them. We're just kind of buying them to see what kind of access they get me, support teams out here that we're building, kind of watch the PFP meta unfold the way it did because I never really understood what it was. It kind of made sense over time that it was basically just a lot of it was just flipping, but there's also I feel like a really unspoken thing with the community aspect of it. I feel like the model that we were seeing over the last 2 years was just wholly unsustainable, and the projects that have survived are really the ones that have pivoted to try to offer more, which is awesome to see these guys out here because I feel like uh, the NFT tech as itself hasn't we haven't even scratched the surface of how it can be used to tokenize assets and commodities, do things like token gating. You have flexible options with composability. I feel like as the people continue to build out here and the market returns and we get some more activity, some more investors out, we're really going to start to see some new cool use cases as far as that's concerned. And then the NDC. I mean, what can I say? I've been watching for the time that I've been here. I've watched the grants being issued the way they have. I've watched projects rugging, projects failing. I've watched builders, well, scammers larping as builders out here, getting funding, fleecing the Near Foundation for their treasury funds, and then taking off, scamming the users here. And it's been painful, and I feel like a lot of it could have been avoided had there been more oversight, had there been more experienced people who understand some of the real world applications of business fundamentals, things like fiscal responsibility, learning how to maximize your time, teaching people that they need to invest sweat equity and be smart, not waste funding. There was definitely a lot of waste. And then as the market conditions really took a dive, we had a lot of centralized exchanges with insolvencies. We had the FTX Alameda scandals. We had the entire Terra ecosystem collapsing, among a ton of other things. A lot of people lost a lot of money out here. And the ones that have survived and have continued to grow have been smart. And a lot of them have been scraping by here with little to no support, no funding. And I feel like the NDC has the opportunity to provide support. And I'm not necessarily saying that it should just be out here funding projects. In fact, that's kind of one of my positions, is that I don't feel like we should just be flooding the market with more NEAR to get dumped. I think we should be helping teach these projects how to survive in the market that we're in, how to make sure that their business models have the long-term goal of being self-sufficient, to be sustainable, and that they have the understanding of what the short-term steps are to get there. And if they don't, I don't want to see funding go to projects that are going to need to be continually propped up. If they can't get to a point throughout, as they grow to be able to generate their own revenue and provide real value, then in my opinion, it's kind of a waste to spend the community treasury just kind of throwing money out there to see where it grows. There's enough smart people running with this wide variety of experience where we can provide more of a mentorship. I've heard other candidates suggesting we do some sort of tokenized credit like Near Horizon's doing. I don't necessarily think it has to be tokenized. I'm not strongly opposed either way, but I think that the House of Merit should be comprised of members who want to see the growth of the ecosystem and are willing to dedicate more than just their time processing grants and funding requests. I think they can really leverage the experience and corroborate with each other in order to help foster growth and incubate projects, connect builders in the space. I mean, there's so many people out here that I've watched kind of running in parallel with each other, and while the liquidity was there, they were all competing, and then as they dried up, instead of taking a step back and realize that they could work together, they really held on to what they had tight. And I watched a lot of them, squeeze the life out of their own projects by doing so, instead of being open to more teamwork, essentially. I think that can change with the guidance that I can provide, as well as the guidance that I believe that other candidates who I hope to see elected as well can provide. I feel like we have the opportunity here to really implement positive change. And we need to focus on really marketing not just NEAR, but the tech stack of NEAR. How many options there are for builders, developers in other ecosystems to come to NEAR, or just other developers out there that haven't dipped their toe in the Web3 space yet. I mean, you have NEAR, you can write in Rust, you have WebAssembly, you have the JavaScript SDK, you have the Aurora EVM, you have the Octopus substrate network where you can have your app chains. I mean, there's just so many different options. You have the boss, like, I'm not even talking about that yet. It's just, there's so many ways that people can build on NEAR, and we just need to get out there and show these developers that why they should be building here and why they should build here now, even though there's not a ton of liquidity here. This is where you want to put in the work now because it's going to pay off in dividends when the market conditions inevitably improve. And they will at some point. I can't predict when, obviously. If any of us knew, we wouldn't be working. We'd be out here, sitting pretty. But the reality is, we're all on this roller coaster, and we're on this ride together, and we can connect each other, and we can work together. We can get more founders here with developers, people that understand business, people that understand marketing, people that know how to write smart contracts, do front end work, full stack dev. The House of Merit, along with the council advisors and even the transparency committee, we can all work together to help foster that growth that this ecosystem desperately needs. And it's not just as simple as just turn the faucet back on, pump that near out there for people to spend. Like, we need to teach these builders how to be responsible. They shouldn't be relying on NDC funds to pay their salary. They should be using the NDC's wealth of knowledge in order to learn how to get funding, how to create business models that will generate their own funding. How are we going to solve real world problems instead of just more DeFi derivatives and more copy paste of the same stuff that's being built in this space? We need a fresh perspective from people who want to go out there. They want to create public goods. They want to solve problems, because in doing so, what you're going to do is you're going to bring on people that aren't currently crypto native. Instead of just recycling the liquidity here with the crypto native people and then slowly having it get drained off as people pay their salaries, these protocols are trying to build their treasuries to create runway. We need to be out here taking the time now to work together, build and show the world that, like, blockchain isn't just some scam thing. Crypto isn't just a bunch of scammers. It's filled with scammers, but it's filled with wicked smart builders who have ambition. And with some guidance from people like myself, who have nearly 2 decades of business experience, we can help drive this growth. We can foster this environment where people want to come here and build. Everyone who's been on here knows that the community here is what has kept us alive throughout all these turbulent times. And I really, really think that we're headed in the right direction. We just have to be very careful here as we open up the community treasury, because we are putting blood in the water, and there are sharks out there that are going to come after it. And we need people like myself who are not afraid to stand up against other groups of people that are trying to divert this funding for their own use. That's not going to benefit a near vertical. It's not going to help create public goods. It's not actually solving problems. There are inevitably going to be real smart people, individuals, groups out here trying to get this money. I mean, you can't put millions of dollars out here in this market and expect that not to happen. You can't do that in the best bull market. If there's money, there's people that are going to try to take it. And this money is meant for near. This money is meant to grow something that can be beautiful and change the world as we know it. And this is why I'm getting involved, because I know that I can help. I know a bad actor, a hustler, a scammer, whether they're walking down the street, whether they're sitting behind a desk or in a boardroom, or if they're LARPing as a builder on Near, Aurora, whatever. I know how to pick those people out. I know how they move, and I know how to fight back against them. And I also know how to differentiate between somebody who's maybe a little misguided and versus somebody who's a bad actor. And I'm willing to put in the time and the effort, like I have been, to continue to help people, to help projects. I want to see the ecosystem succeed. I bought my first bag of Near on a centralized exchange before, there were even centralized exchanges in my jurisdiction that could export to mainnet. And at that point, I knew, like, not your keys, not your crypto, but I thought Near was so cool from what I was learning about it, and so different from what all the other things I had read over the last, year and a half prior, that it made me say, screw it, I'm going to do that. And now I have my little bag that I play with out in public, and then I make my own personal private investments as well. But I'm personally invested on the financial level, and I'm invested on, frankly, an emotional level, because I put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this space over the last couple of years, trying to go to war, calling out bad actors, fighting against people trying to scam communities, and I really, I know I can make a difference, and I'm in it. I'm in it for the ecosystem, and I've built a reputation based on integrity, and I aim to leverage that to help us grow together.
Odin, that was the most epic introduction ever. Thank you for that. That was so detailed, and I love what you're doing. I love when I hear you speak. I think back in the day before we started the Near Is Now group, you popped up, and we're just like more near. How come we're not having more spaces? At any point given time of the day, we can listen to Polygon, Solana, ETH, whatever we wanted to. But spaces on Near were declining, and we started Near Is Now with Elias, and then we invited Delir and all that stuff, and that's how Near at Night started. And you were one of the driving forces of that as well too. So I always love to hear you speak, and another reason why I reached out to you to come on. And when I saw that you were running for HoM, I was like, man, I got to get this guy on here. So glad you're here, glad you're speaking, and that was fucking epic. And I just want to move on from that with starting with I'm pretty sure you have a strong opinion on this. What do you think could be the good and the bad? And I'm asking this to everybody. What is the good and the bad of the NDC that you see? What bad things can happen from the elections, and what is the good things? What is your opinion?
Well, so I mean, the good things are kind of what I touched on. What my vision is to help build, if we're successful, that's the avenue that we take. We help foster a decentralized ecosystem that's censorship resistant, that is more immune to the impending regulation that we're going to see than other ecosystems. Even you take Ethereum for example. At one point last year, I believe it was sometime in late September, about a year ago, maybe a little more than that. But the U.S. was trying to say that Ethereum was under U.S. regulation because 70% of Ethereum validators were within the continental U.S. or U.S. territories. That's scary to think about. Something as big as Ethereum, they were making a case for really being able to impose some regulation that could seriously control it. And the powers that be are not going to give it up easily. So decentralization is key here. So, and Near is part of the NDC is them positioning. They've been breaking up the Near Foundation. They've been splitting off Near Inc. Is Pagoda. You have the different regional hubs breaking off, spinning out of NFs in order to create more of a self-governed ecosystem instead of a centralized one, because the centralized one has a target on its back. We all have targets on our backs out here doing what we're doing, but the target is easier to hit if it's a centralized entity. So I feel like one of the most positive things the NDC can do is help protect Near for the future, help decentralize, as well as, like I talked about, help foster that growth, bring in people that want to build for change, and give them a place to build. On the antithesis of that is I see what my fear is that there's power grabs, and I'm already starting to see these groupings coming up here, and fortunately there are some safeguards in place, but it'd be a real shame to see the community not use their voting power to prevent these cartels from forming, and to make sure that there is a balance of power and of people throughout these different houses that are going to complement each other instead of just blindly co-signing to themselves or to a higher organization. Another thing I'm fearful of, this is the reality of the world, is that if you get somebody in a seat, somebody behind the scenes is going to try to influence them, is going to try to buy them out and, get them to vote a certain way, get them to push funding a certain way. That's stuff that's going to potentially happen off chain. It's going to be nearly impossible to track. Like I said, you get somebody like myself who just I see these I know people, and this is why I've done well in the business world, even though I don't have an MBA or anything like that, is because I know people and I can read people from behind a text wall, behind an avatar, in person, over the phone. It's just I see patterns of behavior from a bigger picture, and it's just I have a very broad life experience, and it's kind of been one of my strengths that's really helped me to get to where I've gotten to in life and to be successful in my different endeavors. And I think I think there's other people from listening to these other candidates speaking on spaces, doing the reading. I'm going through people's Twitter profiles. I'm reading back to all their likes and replies, and I'm going to Telegram channels, and I'm searching a user's name, and I'm scrolling back months to kind of see, like, who are these people out here running? Because, I've heard a lot of them. I'm familiar with a lot of them, and I have my picks from the beginning based off of how I feel like they can benefit the ecosystem. But, 29 votes is a lot. And I want to make sure that I'm using my voting power in the best way that I can. And I'm just one voter. I'm just hoping everyone is out here using the same type of principles, doing that due diligence. I mean, DYOR is like everyone in this space knows what that acronym means. Got to do your own research. You have to. And that applies to everything, but like especially right now, like, living in the US, like having our quote unquote democracy is, it's a thing of beauty. We can go all day diving into the underlying mechanics of the actual, corporate oligarchy that we actually live in, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole because I'll talk for hours on that. As far as the NDC is concerned, there's the same principles, and people have the ability to shape stuff. And I got involved because I was tired of seeing how things were going down, and I saw an opportunity to make a difference. And when the GWG started up, and last year, I was wicked interested, but I didn't have the time. I was working 70 plus hours a week. I was the operations manager at, a $25 million company. And we were growing, like we were growing. And I was paying attention, but I couldn't get involved. And then made a shift for myself because work-life balance is important. And I needed to spend more time doing the things that I needed to do. So I took a shift back out into, more of a real world application. I've always been passionate about the environment and have a lot of skills that can really help change the way the world gets energy and distributes energy. So instead of just thinking about it, I decided to be about it. And I've been out here, for the better part of this year, grinding again, trying to build alternative energy systems. And I have all these ideas of how I can implement that into help creating an energy self-sufficient validator network and things, leveraging things like raised farming. Like I have plans to work with people out here to give communities and individuals and businesses the ability to create their own energy, to grow their own food, to support decentralization by running it simultaneously with validators. I don't want to put too much out here because I'm still in the weeds of chopping through, figuring out what I want to do. But I will be building stuff out here in the near future, and just keep your eyes out for that. But one of the things I see here is, as I work with other groups and other founders to try and grow near, I feel like I'm going to create, a network that's going to help realize the vision that I have for the future. And I've been meeting a lot of people out here that have a similar vision. And like I spoke about earlier, people running in parallel. I'm right there with them, and I'm just looking forward to us growing together. I don't want to see people get taken advantage of. I don't want to see the NDC funding get drained and spent on people putting money in their own pockets and not giving back to this ecosystem that we have here. Not using that funding and that energy to help near grow. I don't want to see near tokens just getting distributed and then just dumped on the market. I want to see the greatest minds we've ever seen out here on near helping each other grow this ecosystem. I think the NDC can do that, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you for that. Is all good and valid points. Again, you every time Odin speaks, it's epic as fuck.
Great
Uh,
insight, to be honest. Sorry to cut you off, Billy, but we have to remind people who's watching live and who will be watching this later on when we post it as a short form videos, maybe, or after we are live. There is a QR code you can scan right here on the top left. This is gonna take you straight to Odin vote, and this is where you will be able to vote. I'm gonna share screen a little bit and show you guys how you can do this. We did this in before, but let's just do it one more time, very quick and easy. Well, it's very simple, guys. You scan the QR code and it's gonna take you to a site like this. Let me share this screen real quick. Okay, so once you scan Odin QR code, you're gonna go to this site. You can see here Odin profile running for House of Merit, and you can read all the information you need. You know, this is, I believe, the standard questions, and that's Odin or the candidate answers. So you can learn more about Odin as well if you wish so. But if you wanna vote, click on the vote simply, and this will take you, and I have to actually close my share screen and open the other one, but this is gonna take you to this page where you will be able to vote. Now, one most important rule you have to remember: if you want to vote for the candidates, make sure you select all the candidates that you want to vote from each house all at once. You cannot vote for Odin, for example, now, and then come back and vote for the rest of people. This is a one time thing. So you choose your 15, and you can see here 15 out of 15. You choose the 15 people you want to vote for, or 7 or 5, and then cast your votes. And I do always remind everyone, and as Odin said, please vote for people who you think will help and contribute to the ecosystem. Don't blind vote for someone just because he's a friend of your friend, or just because you want to cast your votes. It's very important to actually vote for people that you believe they're going to do some great work on the near ecosystem, such as Odin and many other people running for the NDC election. Now there is three houses: House of Merit, Council of Advisor, and Transparency Commission. You can read all the information about these houses on our tickers down below. I will display it right now, and you will know which house and each house what does it do. We can cover it a bit if you guys want, but the information is all down here. So before you cast your vote, there is a three near token will be near tokens bound to your account, and then you will be able to vote. This is refundable just to eliminate the bot that if you register or claimed your I am human SBT token. Now if you didn't claim it, I believe you can do um KYC verification with like 300 near bond, something like this. But if you minted your I am human already, which you cannot mint anymore, by the way, then you will be able to vote on all of these houses. Yeah, that's my presentation, I guess, on how you guys can vote for Odin and stuff like this. But it's very, very important, Odin, and I do say that a lot. Like, sometimes, us as a human or as a people, we'll go there, we will see that we have 29 votes, and people like will vote for like three people, and then, oh, I have extra one. Let me just, blind select people, so I will finish all my votes. Are you worried that we might have? I'm not gonna drop names, okay? But are you worried we're gonna have some sort of people who are winning that they might not, belong in there, or maybe they are in the wrong house, or maybe their contribution, they just got a lot of votes locked in because they have a huge following community, for example, or just because, you know, I don't know,
Oh yeah,
a lot
absolutely.
of.
Yeah,
Mhm,
I'm certainly worried about that. I already see it starting to happen. Uh,
mhm,
I, I want my platform to be based on what I can offer, and not spreading, fear, and uncertainty, and doubt about, any other candidates. I believe that I believe in the voting body. I believe that people are smart enough. They need to take their time to do their research
mm,
and just and be honest with themselves about what they see. I've learned a lot over my time here, and a lot of things that I didn't want to believe to be true. You just have to accept that they are true. There's people out here that you like, you have a good time with, you're vibing with. Want to believe that they have good intentions at heart, and oftentimes they don't, and it's unfortunate. But it's reality. It's the reality of the world. It's the reality of the space. I encourage people to be smart. Yeah, and I hope that everyone has the time to do their own research, and they really can figure out how to use all their votes if that's what they choose is right for them. If somebody isn't sure, yeah, I'd love to see them abstain from some of the votes instead of just
mhm.
blindly throwing them out there, because that has unintended consequences as well. You know? So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell anyone how to vote. Obviously, I hope that I get enough votes where I can become a contributing member of the NDC.
Mhm,
But more than that, I hope that the right people are voted in, and that there is a majority of people who have the best interests of the ecosystem at heart, and are going to work together to make the NDC successful, and to not try to use it for their own gain, with no regard for how it's going to affect the ecosystem. And unfortunately, we've seen that too often out here. Um, we've seen that from some of the candidates for sure. We've seen it from people that are still here, people that are not, but we've all seen it. And if we haven't, or if you haven't, then you probably weren't paying attention. But the
yeah.
reality is, no matter where you go, there's always going to be corruption, and this is the opportunity to to help do the right thing. And I hope everyone makes the right decisions, and I hope they make well informed, educated decisions when they're casting these ballots here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, there is some peoples have like insane amount of votes, and I never heard of them, to be honest. Um, I don't know how, but I mean, we will check later on. But yeah, man, I do really hope what's important is the right people in the right place. You know, I'm a bit concerned because the first governance is gonna be, well, it's gonna be a hit or miss, like it's really gonna be based on how people voted. And do you think this is gonna like how huge is gonna affect for having like couple people in there that doesn't know anything about near protocol, or doesn't know much, as other, and they just got in there, how negative the impact you think is gonna be in the ecosystem?
I want to remain hopeful, and we have short-term limit. 6 months is
Mhm.
not a long time. A lot of damage can be done in 6 months, but a lot of good
Yeah.
can be done in 6 months. And I do believe that enough of the right people are going to get in there, that even if we do have some bad people in there, that they'll be able to keep things headed in the right direction. Obviously, the design that we have is it's far from perfect. It's going to need reorganization. It's going to, I mean, parts of it we're going to need to be burned down and rebuilt, and that's fine. But the important thing here is that we all just keep working to move in the right direction. And we're not all going to have the same view of what that direction is, but if we have a good mix of different cultures, different experiences. We can share what we have learned in our lives and throughout where we have been born and traveled and the things we've all been through as individuals. We pull all that together and we can really create something that can deliver good for the masses. And that's I just want to hope that the good will prevail here.
Yeah.
There's going to be bad. That's inevitable. We just have to fight back against it, and we got to be smart.
Exactly. I wanted to bring up the fact that NDC is trying to bring back grassroots DAOs. What is your stance on that being a part of the or running for House of Merit? Like, if you were to be elected, how would you try to do your part in bringing the grassroots DAOs to you know to light,
So
helping them out and stuff?
that's a great question, and that's one that I have not really had the chance to address yet. So thank you for that. You know, we've obviously seen these grassroots DAOs the way they've operated, and they've unquestionably done some good. But again, I think nobody can really deny that there has also been a lot of wasteful spending. I think there's been a large lack of oversight. I really believe in the importance of making sure that these groups don't just dry up and die. But at the same time, you know, the community treasury is in near. We don't have the opportunity to give funding in tokens other than near unless the House of Merit figures out a way to do, larger over the counter deals that aren't going to create this sell pressure on the near token and to offer funding in other ways. This is why I'm a huge proponent in fiscal responsibility and utilizing the other things that we have available to us, mentorship, things of that nature, instead of just giving near out there. Because what happens when you give a project, a builder, a founder, they have to pay themselves if that's their only source of revenue. And they're going to take that near token and they're going to swap it for something else. They're going to send it to a centralized exchange and they're going to off ramp it. So they can feed themselves and their families and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just don't think that that's what the NDC's primary focus should be. I think we need to be wicked careful. Near is, if you take 15 million near at a buck and change, you're looking at less than $20 million worth. Now, you average that against all-time high. I mean, if we are smart with funding now and we work on maximizing business fundamentals and having long-term vision and building smart, when the market turns around and the value of near goes up, now our treasury is worth that much more, and we have the opportunity to maybe bootstrap some projects that we might not really be able to bootstrap right now without seriously depleting funds and creating more sell pressure on near itself. I'm a firm believer in being smart on how you spend your money, and that's how a business survives. It needs to be able to generate revenue, but that's not the only thing that's important. There are marketing, obviously, is massively important. I don't necessarily think we should just fire off a bunch of money and let unelected people distribute it as they see fit. Now that we have this community-controlled treasury through the NDC, I think we need to utilize the knowledge of the experts out here and try to help build, smarter with the marketing to developers, like I said earlier, to try to bring on other builders and founders. But, things like art are important as well. It's part of the culture, and you can't just ignore it. So as long as there's oversight, there's a responsibility in how things are distributed, the moves that are made, I see value in the existing DAOs that we have here. And I think that they can work with the House of Merit. And I think these DAOs should be submitting their funding proposals in a manner which we can vote on and we can help influence. Say, I see this as a good use of funds, or this is not a good use of funds, and here's why. And maybe it's not something that I think we should be funding, or maybe it's not something we should be funding now, but here are the steps to change it and become eligible for funding. There's a lot of principles here that can be applied to many different aspects, to DeFi, to the creator spaces. I mean, there's not one broad brushstroke answer here. There's so many variabilities, and I know I have the experience to distinguish that and to work with my fellow candidates here. Hoping that I get elected in order to really to provide that guidance that I know this ecosystem so desperately needs.
Of course, of course. I think money should be put where it needs to go, and they need to be educated after they've gotten the funds. A lot of people, I think I saw back in the day when they were handing them out like hotcakes. They gave them near tokens, unlocked near tokens, and they kind of just sat there in their wallet. Maybe it was an exchange. I don't know where they held it at, but it just when the bear market hit, there goes a lot of their funding, and some of them got tens of thousands of dollars. And I know one of the projects, I think it was a video game, they were given quite a large amount, and they just left it in their wallet and thinking, like only up or something. I don't know what their thought process behind it was, but someone wasn't managing the treasury or what, and half of their money was gone. And then they came back later on and said, well, give me more money because near token went down. That's not our fault. But technically, yeah, it is. It is your fault because you don't know what you're doing with your money. You should have swapped it out for some stables or something and did something with it, and you would have had that money still. It's not the foundation's priority to watch over what you do with your funding. You know what I mean? And now they do say that if you're getting anything from the foundation these days is, hey, you're responsible for the money that you receive. And I think they make you sign something for it if I'm not mistaken. But it's not only do you have to bring people on and make sure they're getting the funding, you got to make sure they know what they're doing with the funding. And when it's grassroots DAOs and stuff like that, little small projects or startups, they might not know these things, and people are getting wrecked. And you made some very good, valid points there, and making sure everyone knows what they're doing and putting it to good use, and not just dumping it and sending it to a centralized exchange and just off ramping it. Like you said, there's nothing wrong with it, but at the same time, you could be doing smarter things and making your money work for you. We got a couple of grants from the marketing DAO, and when I'm seeing the token tank, I'm swapping. Actually, yeah, when I see it spike up, I'll swap it to a stable, and then when it goes back down, I'm getting back into it. So I think I've made a few bucks here and there just by trading. And I'm not no one special. I don't trade all the time, But when I see something, it's just like, wow, like if near's at $1.30 and now it's at $1.12, it only makes sense to get it back into your wallet. I could, not financial advice, but I've made a few bucks from the money that they've given me, and it's helped out tremendously. For me, just for what we do here in the Boneyard, if I can make a couple $100 just day trading and just keeping an eye on your funds and making sure it's still there and you have what you need to keep going, a couple $100 goes a long way. So I think it's very important to educate people and grassroots DAOs and what they need to do and what they can do to maximize what they got, and not really just extract and off ramp it right away. Is there anything else?
Sure. Just to add to that, it's important that people understand how to mitigate risk and to diversify, their treasuries, things of that nature. And one thing, we're talking about this funding that was given out. It was just like these lump sums were just given. It's like, all right, like you had a good pitch. Like, here, we're going to give you all this near, and maybe you'll be successful. Then I feel like there just wasn't the incubation or the guidance that needed to be there, and I don't think that the infrastructure was in place in order to offer that. But it could have really the amount of waste could have really been reduced if just something as simple as milestone-based funding. Like, yeah, we'll give you 10,000 near, we'll give you, 2,500 up front, and then, as time progresses, we'll distribute more. If you hit certain OKRs, KPIs, then you get more. It's if you hit a certain milestone, you get a percentage, and these are basic business tenets. You get into a contract with somebody, generally you're not getting all the money up front. You're going to get money to cover your overheads to begin the path that you need to get. Then as you produce things, as you generate value, as you actually do what you say you're going to do, then you're eligible to receive the additional funding. But that stuff, if these grants had just been broken up that way, as these projects inevitably rug or we realize that they're not sustainable or they're going to fail, or people had, you can get a good salesman that can sell an idea but then doesn't know how to execute it, and without making sure that the right people get put in a place, or that funding is delivered in a manner where you can stop the bleeding. If you end up funding a project that doesn't have the opportunity to be self-sufficient or successful, you got to be able to stop loss. We hedge our bets, we hedge our investments. We should be doing that with funding as well. We need to have things in place to prevent just this reckless amount of loss here, and just dumping lump sums out there and hoping that that these builders and founders are going to be able to make it work. That's just not the way to success. I mean, it may work some of the time, but more often than not, you're gonna see failure. And then as you see projects maybe realize that their own shortcomings, they're going to take that money that they have left and they're going to bail, and then you're going to call them a rugger or whatever, or people that got funding and they just genuinely didn't know the path forward, and they didn't have the guidance, and they failed. And there's a lot of finger pointing and name calling, but it's on the projects as well as the investors. And if NF has been an investor for a lot of projects, I feel like they have not done right in a lot of ways, and I've been pretty vocal about that. I'm not perfect, but I hold myself to a standard of extreme ownership, and if something that's relatively under my control, if I can take accountability for it and blame myself, I hold myself accountable for it, because accountability is a key requirement in order to have success. If you make a mistake, you need to own it, and you need to own it and figure out a plan forward. If you pretend like it's not happening and you turn a blind eye, all you're going to do is you're going to lose trust. And, I don't want to go on a huge tangent here, but the way the things have been handled with few and far has been disappointing. It's my strong opinion that someone from Near Foundation from somewhere should come out and say, you know what, we made this investment. It was the wrong investment. We should have never said, this is the official marketplace in Near. There shouldn't be official marketplace in Near. This is an open protocol. Anyone can come here and build. And we made a mistake. We didn't pay attention to how funding was distributed. We had some dishonest people do some sketchy stuff, steal some money, and we're going to distance ourselves publicly. But instead, you don't have that. You have this silence out here, and you have now this protocol who knows is behind the helm. Because as far as I know, a lot of the good talent that was there, the honest people, the hardworking devs, the other builders there, they've gone other places. They're protecting themselves. And, I'm speaking hypothetically here, but because I don't know exactly what happened. But from my perspective, I think the right thing to do would be to rip the Band-Aid off, and for, any near-centric organization to distance themselves publicly. You got these posts out here, few and far, talking about launching the token, and then they got the comments turned off, because they don't want anyone saying, like, hey guys, how about some accountability for what happened here? And that's just one example of many. It's the most recent one, really. So it's the one that's fresh on my mind, and it's this ongoing thing. It's frustrating to witness, and I don't want to see that going forward. And I pledge to make sure that kind of stuff, it doesn't just get swept under the rug. People are held to account for what they do and the decisions they make. And if I'm
Yeah.
one of the people that makes the wrong decision, then I'm holding myself to account. And I'm saying, you know what? I made a mistake. Here's what went wrong, and here's what we're going to do to fix it. And that's the only way forward. And that's the only way forward in business, no matter what vertical you're building in. And if we're not keeping that as one of our core fundamentals, good luck in being successful.
Yeah, exactly. I think I commented on one of them because they disabled comments, and then when they enabled them, I said something. I said, "Hey, how about a transparency report before you try releasing your token?" I guess they might try to do a double rug where they're going to try to release their token to people that don't know what's going on. But I think enough people know what's going on for them not to be able to release a token and make any money. I mean, there might be a couple of people that fall through that sift, but I think the foundation should say something, make a statement, something like that, because they heavily back them, and all of us are wondering, like I loved Few and Far, I wanted them to succeed so bad because they have a gaming focus, and I want, the Boneyard is basically, it's Boneyard Gaming. I want to support them, and I want to help them champion games and bring them to the people, and every single one of their mints was like gaming projects, and I was excited for that. And I think I even hit up like Paras and I think what's it called, Astro Market or something like that. A few others who were thinking about building a market or currently have a market. I was hitting everyone else up and say, hey, can we have a gaming section? Because if you look at Magic Eden, I'm not sure if OpenSea has it or if any of the other ones do, but Magic Eden has a great section for gaming. If you want to get into gaming, they have their own little tab. It says Magic Eden Gaming. They're now even pouring, I think, a couple mil into doing spaces and game nights and mints and stuff like that. They have their own little subsection within the market. And Few and Far was looking to do that with questing and stuff like that. So I was getting pretty excited, and they heavily had my support. And then this happened, so like I'm crushed. Like now what? And then we want answers. We want a transparency report, and then it's kind of a silence. So it is disappointing, for a lot of people, and it makes, I think it makes Near look a little, I don't want to say bad, but it's just like, is there anything going to be done or said? Like, we're all sitting here waiting for answers. It's been quite a while since it's happened, so it's interesting to see what.
You don't want to say it, but I'll say it. It does make them look bad. It makes them look weak, and it makes them a target for other bad actors. Because if pretending like it didn't happen, it is the card that they're going to play here. That's a mistake. You're going to lose so much trust in the community, and you're undermining all the good efforts that have been made and all the progress that's been made. It gets undermined by something as simple as this, like just trying to pretend like something didn't happen. It's not the way forward. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's so frustrating to watch because there's so many other ways that this could be handled. There's how many people,
and it is hard.
How many people work in there, are just like, they have this, like, there's like this tainted thing now. It's like, you want to say you work there, but to highlight your experience, but now all this other stuff has gone on. It's like, well, what really happened? Who was really involved? There is no transparency report. And my guess would be that most people out there didn't do something wrong.
Right. Well,
That
we are
most
coming
people
up on the hour.
Working at the protocol. I think I might have lost you there for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry. I think I dropped out there. But yeah, it's unfortunate because if a transparency report was issued, and I get people have lawyered up and all that, and it's unfortunate.
I think that's what's holding them back. I think that's the problem. All the legalities.
For sure. I mean, there was there was allegedly a lot of money stolen, is what it looks like, and somebody's got to be held to account for that, and nobody. The problem is, there's so much uncertainty here. But I don't want to go off on a tangent. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people like yourself who have been disappointed by this, but there's a lot of people I'm sure that were working there that are well intentioned, probably had no idea what was going on. I hope to see everyone successful out here, finding their way into new projects, things like that.
Yeah, we had Trevin on yesterday, and he was our community manager and social media manager, and he was just telling us just yesterday, he was on the podcast, and he was saying, hey, it's disappointing, we wanted backing from the Near Foundation or some answers and say, hey, we're all jobless, that we were doing this full time. Can we get some support? And I didn't think they got that support. It's hard to see, and I was like worried about him too because he had just moved across the country, kind of. I think he was in Seattle and he moved to like Tennessee or something like that. So he's in a new place, and him, you have to rely on your job obviously to pay your bills, and then now his job is gone, and it's not his fault. And I think there was a whole team of people, like you said, are just jobless because of this, and the foundation doesn't help them out or can't. I don't know the situation exactly. I can't really speak on that, but we would like to hear something better come from this, rather, But I don't want to beat a dead horse here, and we're coming up on the hour, so I want to play a quick game real fast. I know this has been an interesting and insightful, and you're a big brain and know what you're talking about here, and I think you got my vote. I mean, I know you got my vote because looking at all the people, I don't think I'm going to use all my votes. I mean, I'm looking, I'm doing my due diligence like everyone should do. And some of these people, I have no idea who they are. So I have to do my research. And I already know most of my votes, where they're going to, at least 20, 25 of them. So real quick, I play this game really with everybody. And I want to hear what you have to say, because I know you're involved in a lot of other chains. But there's a game I like to play with everybody. It's called Pump, Dump, and Hodl. So if any collection on any chain, who would you pump, who would you dump, and who are you hodling?
Oh, what's the last one? Modeling?
Hodl, hold.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm holding near for sure. It's hard because it's like, I've gotten so wrecked by the pump and dump Ponzi-nomics out here that I've seen. Yeah, that's a tough one for sure. Man.
Put you on the spot there.
Yeah, you did. You got me. Unquestionably, I'm holding my near. I want to see it all staked. Decentralize that network. But
so if you had a pump, like who? I wouldn't say like a pump and dump, like to get in and out and to make some money. I mean more like who are you pumping? Like who are you going to shill on social media, and who's are you selling because you feel like they're no longer building and doing well, and it's not more or less of pump and dump like a KOL.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Pumping everything KeyPalm related. KeyPalm Shard Dog is like using one of Near's core strengths, and I'm out here learning from people much smarter than myself about the potential, and it's got to get leveraged more. The more it gets utilized, the more it's going to highlight what Near is at its core. As far as dumping, I see. I feel like there's been so much waste out here. It's hard to just say one thing. Overall, I just want to see, just dump the influencers. Don't listen to these people out here pumping their own bags and dumping on your heads. Do your own research. Stop blindly following people. Not suggesting that anyone's doing that, but inevitably that's what happens. Dump the toxicity, dump the mental poison that's being pumped out to you, and you got to be able to cut through the bullshit and see what's real, and see the real people out here. Pump these builders that are working tirelessly throughout this bear market, being smart, managing the funds, working day jobs, putting in the nights and the weekends because they see the potential for success. That's who I want to pump. That's who I want to see out here building. I want to see them successful because when they're successful, they're going to show.
We lost him, didn't we?
I don't hear.
Yeah.
I'm still here. Can you
Yeah,
lost
we
me?
hear
Yeah,
you
we
now.
can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I don't know how
Well,
much that you heard, but as far as pumping, supporting, I want to put that support behind the people out here grinding, the ones who have put all their eggs in this Web3 basket. I want to see them be successful. I want to see the people that are grinding nights and weekends while they work a day job, trying to build something for the future. That's who I want to put my support behind. Dump the toxic influencers, the ones out here that are getting paid to shill bags and dump on people's heads, sucking liquidity out of the ecosystems. Get them out of here and stake that near, hold that near. Not financial advice, but decentralize the network.
on Ready Layer One, right?
I mean, I publicly stake with them to make a point. I do liquid staking as well. I have stake with other validators as well. I do some stuff out in public. I got my little bag I mess around with, uh, you know, which is fine. And then I make my own investments that's my own personal thing going on. I try to keep that as private as possible because I don't want people following my lead if I make a bad decision. But I also, what I do is with my finances, I like to keep that private, and I'm uh, looking forward to seeing more things like Calamaro, on mainnet and other privacy options here because I think in order for mass adoption to really happen, we need those options. I believe in building in public, but a lot of things have to be done in private as well. There's competition out here. You can't just be putting everything out in the open.
Yeah.
Cool. We gotta wrap it up. I have a meeting right now in like 5 minutes, so I have a hard stop on the hour right now. So quickly to wrap up, on your screen you can see right here we got a Shard Dog link from Ready Layer One, who we brought up earlier. Joe and Jared. Actually, we'll have Joe tomorrow. So if anyone watching this right now or watching the recording later on, make sure to scan this. Get your GM Gamer NFT, which is free. We'll create you a new wallet if you don't have one, and an airdrop to activate said wallet. I animated and pixelated it myself, yours truly. It's not very good, but I don't have much experience making art. Um, what else do we want to bring up? You can vote for Odin if Seuss will lift up his left hand and point at it. Vote for
Yeah.
Odin right there.
Well, it's there. Yeah. If you scan this QR code, this will take you to Odin nomination page, and you can vote for Odin there. As you can guys tell, if you will watch this podcast later, if you were here, you know that Odin is one of the guys that he actually deserves to get this votes. A guy you can tell, and I can tell Odin how passionate you are about this. You definitely getting my vote 100%, and I do hope people as well who will be watching this later on will see that in you. I can see and I can tell that you are eager to make changes. You want things to get better, and you are very passionate about it. So thank you so much for your time and for all the explanation you did. It was great, man, and you dropped some really, really good things for us here.
Great points. I hope we get you some votes, and yeah, my support. And really quickly before we go to, if you want to follow the elections live, you can scan this right here. Odin, do you have any closing statements you want to say before we wrap it up?
I just want to say thanks to both you guys. I appreciate the love, bringing me up here, giving me a platform to speak. I'm so glad to hear that I've earned your votes. Anyone out there who's unsure, who has any questions, please feel free to DM me. You can find me on Twitter or Telegram, based Degen, DEEEGEN. Or you can find me hanging out in the El Cafe Cartel server, most mornings early before work. Other than that, I'm out and about. Hit me up anytime. Uh, please vote for me if you feel like I deserve your vote. I pledge my support to the near ecosystem, and I want to see us all grow and be successful together. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, no worries. And again, guys, if you want to follow Odin on Twitter, you can scan this QR code right here. This will take you also to his Twitter. Thank you, Odin. Billy, thank you for hosting. And good night, morning, everyone.